RadioNOW 100.9's Indy Connection with Emily Metheny.
Hello, I'm Emily Metheny, your host. This week, I had a chance to catch up with Kelsey Burton. She's the executive director with Paws and Think. We had a great conversation talking about what the organization has been doing during the pandemic and what they are going to do now that teams and volunteers are able to go out and about in the community again. Kelsey, can you tell me a little bit about what Paws and Think was doing during the lockdown and then what's kind of happening right now?
Sure. So Paws and Think, oh my gosh, we just pretty much said, what does our community need right now? You know, we have COVID. We know mental health is really taking a plummet. And so what can we do when we can't really see people in person with our therapy dogs to be able to help? And so we came up with so many different things, one of which is our Paws to Connect program, which is virtual visits. So these were visits we were able to hold through Zoom or other virtual call type systems. And we could, be with anyone, anywhere to be able to provide that emotional support that they really needed during this time. And then we got really creative and we did things like putting dog cutouts, that kind of look like baseball players or basketball players of our therapy dogs. And we put those all throughout the different venues that we visit, just as a visual reminder, especially for, staff and folks that were still having to go into the office every day during that, that we're here and we're thinking about them. We sent cards to a lot of the folks at the elder care facilities so that they got a card that just, again, said, hey, we're thinking of you. And we, hope to be back soon. So we did a lot of that stuff. We did story times for our Pause to Read program. And we had, some celebrities, some local celebrities like Butler Blue, the mascot for Butler, did some story times. Obviously, he didn't read, but he did help his handler read. So we just did a lot of fun things like that to keep people engaged and just try to, again, just make that connection that people weren't alone during this time. And then what's been amazing is now, things are opening back up. People are getting vaccinated, feeling more comfortable getting out there. And so now we're able to be back with the people and we've missed them so much. And so like, for instance, at several of the area hospitals, we're able to see patients again. So we're back at Ascension St. Vincent and Peyton Union Children's Hospital and Riley and Eskenazi. So it's just been so fun to be able to be back. And then we're still offering these virtual visits, though. So we saw this benefit here with this, and we realized there's a lot of folks that can't, get to us either because of distance or, maybe they're at home, stuck at home because of healthcare issues. And so we're continuing to offer that. And this Saturday, I had a call with a little girl who she's actually a patient at Peyton Manning Children's Hospital, and she's getting some outpatient stuff done. And so she came and did the call on Saturday. And I have to tell you, as a volunteer for that program, I think I got as much out of it as she did. I mean, she squealed. She said, "This is the best day ever." Aww. When she kept seeing my dogs. She was just so excited that even though she can't go anywhere because of her, immune system and all that, she was able to have this really fun interaction. I have 5 dogs, so she got to meet 5 dogs during the call. And every time I brought one out, she'd just get so excited and keep saying, "Are there more?" I mean, it was just so fun. But as a volunteer, I left that call just feeling like $1 million. I mean, she's such a little warrior. She was so fun. And it brought me joy to be able to bring her happiness. So I think as a volunteer, it's like full circle. It just makes you feel great.
That's awesome. Because especially, we've seen how a lot of organizations have pivoted during the pandemic and during the lockdown, and seeing that such a valuable tool is still being able to be used as we're starting to do the back in person meet and greets too.
Yeah, I don't think that program will go anywhere because we've always had this little bit of a hiccup where we weren't sure how to help folks that were, at home health care or, on hospice care, and they couldn't leave their home because we don't want our volunteers obviously going into people's personal homes. And so we weren't really sure how to do that. And now I feel like we found a solution that really seems to be doing really well. And not just, for the folks that are getting our services directly, but their family members too. We see a lot of caretakers, a lot of, other family members that need that break too. The other siblings in the house need to feel like they're just a kid too. And so we're able to connect with the whole family, which is really neat because sometimes when we go in somewhere where we provide services, we may only see the client or the patient and not necessarily the family. Sometimes we do. It just depends on the venue. But this way we kind of can give that holistic approach to everyone who's involved in the care. And that's really special. I mean, we really do pride ourselves on trying to help all the stakeholders that are involved, in either helping a client or a patient. And so we do visit with staff, at these facilities. We do visit with family members when we can, and therapists and counselors. And we find that so important. I mean, I think if everyone that's involved in taking care of folks can get help for any of the trauma that they're seeing just by being a helper, then I think it just is better for everyone involved.
Mm-hmm. And as you've been able to go back into venues and buildings, what has some of that reaction been with some of the frontline healthcare workers and the other people who are serving? What has that been like?
It has been amazing. When we went back into Ascension St. Vincent, which when we went back to the hospital at first, we could only see staff because they weren't quite ready for us to see patients. And there were tears, there was cheering. One of the staff members actually said the thing I missed the most during the pandemic were the therapy dogs. So I just think it was something that they so needed. We know that the healthcare folks, they're still emotionally and physically just very exhausted from everything that they've been dealing with. And again, it just shows like we're here, we're showing up for you. And then, of course, all of the great scientifically backed things that happen when you interact with a dog. You release all the good hormones, your stress signals go down, just everything good kind of comes out of that interaction and leaves them with that positive feeling. And then they can go into whatever it is they're walking into the door next with kind of that renewed sense of hope. So that's really something that these little four-legged furry little guys do that, really a person can't necessarily always do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And since you are back in person with Paws and Think, what are some of the programs that are happening right now that you guys are doing?
Yeah, so we are back at almost, I would say about 70-75% of all of our venues. We're back in person with our therapy dogs. So our therapy dogs are going out in person and visiting with, kids at schools and libraries and our hospital programs and then all of our support groups. So a really neat program this August, we're going to Camp Healing Tree. And this is a camp for kids who have experienced loss. And so they're grieving children, and our therapy dogs spend the weekend with them at this camp. So that's a really special program we've been doing for well over 10 years. And so we'll be doing that. So we're always looking for folks who have a therapy dog, or have a dog that they think has a really great demeanor, who likes, people, has a good temperament. And then we're going to help you train them to be able to be a therapy dog to go out. And the really cool thing is we also have a scholarship program for that. So, we never want someone who financially says, I can't afford the training classes, or I can't get the right harness for my dog, or whatever. Paws and Think, we have amazing donors that help us be able to provide the scholarship program so folks can come and become a therapy team without worrying about that financial burden. And so we do, offer those based off of need and off of the availability that we have. So that's kind of one of our efforts to try to be more, accessible to all people in our community. Mm-hmm. And then besides that, we're doing our youth canine program, and we just finished up this week our Hamilton County program, where youth from the Youth Assistance Program of Hamilton County trained shelter dogs at the Hamilton Humane Society. Mm-hmm. So we have 3 great dogs that just finished that program. They're available for adoption at Hamilton Humane. I'm sorry, I said 3. One of them already got adopted. So we have 2 great dogs still left that are ready to be adopted. And in that program, we also do it at the Marion County Juvenile Detention Center. And we are thrilled because we get to go back to the detention center in August. It has been a long time coming. We've missed them this year. So we're really excited we get to go back to that program. And then the dogs there come from Indianapolis Animal Care Services. And so, again, these are kids that, are in need of this kind of emotional support, and then also in need of this purpose. They're able to come and train this dog, and they learn awesome life skills like empathy, and patience is a big one. And then the dogs leave the program and they now know their manners, so they're more adoptable. So it's really just one of those programs that just everyone walks away with a benefit, including our volunteers. And we need mentors who help with the dog and the youth. And they aren't training the dogs. They're just helping coach them and how to train. And then they're also just a consistent presence that can be there every day with them and talk through any kind of issues they may be having, from training the dog to just things in their personal life. So we train you how to interact with youth and how to help them in that program as well.
And if someone's interested in becoming one of the mentors for that program or volunteering in general, how do they go about that?
Right. So the best way to become a Paws and Think volunteer is to first start at our website, which is pawsandthink.org, and that's PAWS, like puppy paws. And when you go there, there's a ways to be involved tab. So go there, kind of read through it. And I only mentioned, the high level, kind of main two programs we have. We have so many other ways that people can volunteer, from committees to helping with outreach events and booths to, if you're somebody who is really creative, hey, we may, put you on something like graphic design or, whatever we may need at that moment. We're always looking for folks to help with our fundraising efforts too. So if you're somebody who, isn't opposed to going out and asking for things, we always can use you. So our philanthropy committee is always actively looking for go-getters in that program. So, there's just so many ways that you can help. And the website, like I said, is the best way. And then once you go there, you'll see the application process and you can go ahead and get started. And if you have any questions, you can go to info@pawsandthink.org, and we'll have a volunteer there that'll be able to answer your questions.
Perfect. And is there any age requirements to be a volunteer? I was reading on the website, there's some age stuff with being a handler and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, what's really neat is we do have a junior handler program. So any youth that's 12 years or older can go through the training program with the dog. Until they're 16, they have to have an adult with them, but then they can become a junior handler. And we've had so many successful junior handlers. And I have to tell you, folks love seeing kids, come into these venues. And once you're 16, then you can become a handler. You just have to have mom or dad sign off. And then as far as we have helpers that help train our therapy dogs during classes. And this is open to anyone. And you can be, an adult and bring your kid. We love to see how the dogs do around kids. We do ask that the kids at least can follow directions. So, as far as age, that kind of just depends on the kid, right? Some kids, it takes a little longer to learn that skill than others. But as long as they can follow directions and safely interact with the dog, then you can come help with our training classes. And we're always looking for, we're very low on men volunteers. So we're always looking for men to help with that, especially so we can see how dogs do around men. And we're always looking for a diverse group of folks as well, just so that we can see how dogs interact with all sorts of different people. And that's why we like to have kids there, because we like to see how they react, around younger kids. So yeah, that's a program. And that one, what's really neat about helping with our training classes, you don't have to become a full volunteer to come help. You can sign a waiver and come try it out and see if you like it. And then if you do, then you can become a volunteer. But it's kind of a nice way to just try out and see if it's something that interests you. And those classes are on Saturdays and Tuesday nights. And so we're always looking for helpers for those.
And then what's the time commitment like when you're a volunteer with Paws and Think?
The time commitment varies. For a therapy team, we ask that they donate at least 2 hours of their time every month. And so, that could be one visit somewhere. That could be two. It just depends on the length of your visit. For our other programs, it's just over the course of a year, we want to see you give 24 hours. So it doesn't have to necessarily be monthly. Some of our folks that help with our Dogs Are Magic event that's happening in October, they may donate all of their volunteer hours around the event, and that's really all they do all year. They may just focus on that event. So it varies. But for the therapy teams, the reason we want you to do that monthly is so you keep up on your skills, for one thing. And the other thing is we have just such an enormous need of places that need our services. We have a wait list that is insanely long. And so we really need folks out there being active and, going to these venues and giving of their time so that we can fulfill the need of our community.
Mm-hmm. And so if a student is looking for volunteer hours, they can do that with Paws and Think.
Correct. Yeah, we do that a lot with folks, where if they need volunteer hours, they can come to us. We also have internships available for high school and college kids. Our fall internship is filled right now, but we're looking towards the spring and summer of next year. So that's also an opportunity, especially if you have requirements for class. And it's a really fun way for you to be able to intern. Plus, we have the flexibility of there's lots of different places you can go and lots of different programs to work with. So your major, we really can fit almost any major that you may have.
Yeah, as you mentioned with the volunteering, you can, if you have an interest in graphic design and things like that, you can find a way to make it fit for them.
Yep, absolutely. And we have had awesome marketing interns before who've really, done a lot of great things for us. So, Yeah, and we've had social work volunteers, majors, and we've had just about anything you can think of. And then the one I have this fall is actually a senior in high school, and we've had some great high school volunteers too that have a program that's part of their requirement. And, the high school ones, they've always just been phenomenal. So we're just really excited we have one this fall because we didn't get to have one last year because of the pandemic. So we're so excited to have our interns back.
And you mentioned your Dogs Are Magic event. Can you talk a little bit about that as it comes up this October?
Sure. So our biggest fundraising gala of the year is called Dogs Are Magic. And this year the theme is Pups and Pixie Dust, which is Peter Pan themed. So we're really excited about that theme. It should be fun. And it is on October 21st. And we're going to be doing a hybrid event this year because we know not everyone's comfortable in person yet. So we'll be holding the in-person part at the Willows. That'll be more information will be on our website at pawsandthink.org/magic once tickets come on sale for that. And then we'll also have a virtual component too, so that you can log in from home and help support us and, see what we're doing and see some of the therapy dogs that are on site and things like that. This event is all magic themed because we truly do believe that dogs are magic, and we see magic every day that they do. And we have all sorts of fun stuff. We have magicians and caricature artists, and we may even have our tarot card reader ladies back. And then we have a silent auction, and we just have all of these fun things. And we do a cocktail hour first, and then we do a seated plated dinner, and we have some special guests that are coming for that as well. And it is our biggest fundraising event of the year. So it's super fun, but also really important for us to be able to, financially back all of these programs that we do. And last year it was completely virtual. So we're really excited to be back this year in person. And with it being our 20th anniversary this year, we have a couple of really great surprises that we're gonna save to as we get closer to announce. But we do have some really fun surprises of some things that we're going to be working towards in the next, couple of years. So it's very exciting. So again, you can learn more about that at pawsandthink.org/magic.
Excellent. And Kelsey, without giving away any of your surprises coming up, can you talk a little bit about the 20th anniversary for Paws and Think?
This is a very exciting year for Paws and Think because we are celebrating our 20th anniversary. And this milestone, especially after the year we had last year, it just feels, it feels like this just amazing accomplishment that we've all been able to make. And our organization for the last 20 years, we help around 50 to 60,000 individuals a year through our services. So it's nothing short of astounding that we've been doing this for 20 years and we've had such an impact in Central Indiana. So this year, because it is our 20th, we have done a couple of things. Like we did a 20th anniversary campaign where we raised over $20,000. Our goal was 20, and we raised, I think, about $23,000 to support our services. And then we're going to be doing a couple of other little fun things this year. Some things called some yappy hours, which are like happy hours, but you can bring your dog. So if you check out our website or our social media, we'll be posting about those. And that'll just be a way for us to get together and just celebrate these amazing accomplishments. And then with it being our 20th anniversary for Dogs Are Magic this year, like I said, we're going to have a couple of little surprises, but because also of last year just not, being able to be together, we have, a couple of cocktails that we're going to be offering for free this year and, just some fun things like that just to try to say thank you to everyone that we were able to make it through last year. And, we're going to have some great silent auction items, and we have a couple of guest speakers coming that'll be really exciting, like Patty Spittler, and we have Sarah Jones and just a couple of other fantastic people. So it'll just be really fun. And this year, like I said, it's just amazing to watch how much, growth we've had over the last 20 years. And when we started 20 years ago, therapy dogs, those kind of things weren't very common. And to just see how people have so quickly said, yeah, this is something we need, and we're seeing the benefit. And then for us to have grown just so much in the community and to be the largest provider of therapy dogs in Central Indiana, that's, just an accomplishment in and of itself. So we're just really proud, and we can't do any of this without our volunteers. We have hundreds of volunteers that do this every day, including dog volunteers, our furry volunteers. And then we also have, just so many amazing program partners that help support us. And then, of course, our donors. Unfortunately, things cost money. And so for us to be able to have donors who, believe in us and know that we're going to be good stewards of their money and we're going to make good decisions for our community with the funds they give us. It's, I don't know, it just gives you the warm fuzzies. It just makes you feel really great.
And if someone is interested in becoming a donor, how can they do that?
Yeah, donating is super easy. So you can just go to pawsandthink.org/donate. And there's a couple of options on how to donate if you want to donate financially. We also have a wish list. So these are items primarily that we use for our training classes or our youth canine program classes. But you can go there. There's a link to a full list and also to Amazon, so you can directly ship them, and then we can use those for the program as well. We've had a lot of youth philanthropists lately. I mean, it has been so fun. We've had all these kids that have done really great things like set up lemonade stands and car washes and dog walks and just all of these things. And that's been really neat to watch this summer, is these kids just putting together these fundraisers all by themselves and raising money for Paws and Think. That's probably been my favorite part. Those have been my favorite check presentations, to go accept checks, from a 9-year-old who decided that this summer what she was going to do was raise money for us. And that's been just so fun. So that's something too, if you're looking for something to do with your kids, or you have kids in the neighborhood that are, wanting to do a lemonade stand or do something, you can start to instill this little bit of, hey, let's give back to our community. Let's give a percentage back, or let's, do something else. And it's just, I don't know, I guess it gives you a little bit of hope for the future that our youth are all, still willing to just do what they need to do to help our community. And that's pretty special.
Mm-hmm. And if I'm a parent of a child who wants to do this, or I'm leading the neighborhood team, do we need to let you know ahead of time, or how does that work?
That is totally up to the family. If you let us know ahead of time and you want us to help promote that it's happening, in a neighborhood, or you're doing a car wash, or we had a bake sale that, oh my gosh, the goods that were baked were better than anything I've ever seen in a bakery. I was so impressed with this little girl. But, if you want us to promote it ahead of time, we can. Otherwise, a lot of times they'll just let us know, like, hey, we're going to do this, and we'll let you know when it's done. And then I usually come out once it's done with one of the therapy dogs, and we do a picture with the check afterwards. And so it's just really up to the family and to the kids, how much exposure they want to have. A lot of kids just like to do it on their own and then let us know afterwards, which is really exciting too. I mean, everybody does it a little different. Sometimes we learn about big donations even afterwards, a corporation or someone that we didn't even know they, were raising money for us. So it just kind of depends on each place, how they feel about it.
And Kelsey, as we start to wrap up, is there anything else you want to add, or anything else you want to expand upon?
So I guess one thing is, a lot of folks ask us, if I want to have services out, how do I do that? So I work at a school, or I'm part of a support group, and how do I do that? The best thing is, on our website, there are forms that you can fill out to be put on our wait list. And the reason I bring it up is we just have a pretty extensive wait list right now. And especially after COVID, a lot of folks just popped up and said, yep, we want services. And so that's all great, but we are working through it. So we just ask, the community's patience as we work through the wait list, because we only have so many volunteers and staff. And so we're just trying to figure out, the best place to place people right now, and where folks should go and where folks want to go too. I mean, that's a big piece too, is where do our volunteers want to go? So, absolutely go on there and fill out a form, but just give us a little bit of time as we work through, figuring out the best way to provide services for the just enormous amount of requests that we have right now.
Mm-hmm. No, excellent. And people can do that by going to pawsandthink.org.
Yep, pawsandthink.org. You go to the drop-down menu, and I believe it says request a visit. So then you can go ahead and fill that out.
Perfect. Thank you for joining me, and please join me again next week when I talk with Megan Davis from the Humane Society for Hamilton County. If you want to reach out or have topics or stories you'd like to hear more about, email me at emetheny, that's EMETHENY at radio-one.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter at EmilyDoesVideo. You can listen to other episodes of Indy's Connection online at RadioNOW.com. All you have to do is search Indy's Connection in the search bar on our website. Until then, have a great week.
Radio Now 100.9's Indy Connection with Emily Metheny.